What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Once again, we are back with career mode season number 4 with the Red Bull Racing team. As you can see there, McLaren are absolutely streaks ahead in the performance charts. You guys know that if you did see the previous episode. So it's our goal to basically chase them down in both the performance charts and both the drivers' standings. They already have a very early lead. You can see in the aero specific area of performance, that is where the McLaren really comes into its own. It's like literally a third better than everyone else in the entire field. That is absolutely crazy how strong they are in that particular area themselves. So for us, I think I'm going to be targeting the aero again because that's where the most amount of upgrades lie for this Red Bull. We're going to be doing a few discount upgrades first before we even get stuck into the aero. So the development will be a bit of a slow burner for us early on, but as you guys saw in Season 3, once you do get those discounts applied, you can upgrade really quickly, and it will make a huge difference, especially in that aero department, because there are so many upgrades to apply. So hopefully we can make some progress very, very quickly. But heading into this weekend here in China, the pace wasn't as strong, I'm not going to lie, as what it was in Australia. We just seemed to be 6-7 tenths slower versus where we were this time last round. I'm not too sure why that is. Maybe I've gone the wrong direction with setup. I often don't do as well at China as what I do at Australia, so hard to gauge at this stage where the car stands at this stage. But as we head into Q3, it went from dry conditions to full wet conditions, so the track has just completely been turned on its head, and we're doing our best to deal with the situation. So we sit P9 at the moment. We improve to P5, still 2.6 seconds away from the pace setters of the McLaren Hondas in the form of Fernando Alonso. It must be said as well, I have seen some intermediate sessions, not only in practice this weekend, but also in one of the practice sessions in Australia. When it comes to intermediate conditions, believe it or not, the McLaren Honda is even more OP, because that's where downforce really comes into its own, especially in these kind of conditions. It gives you that much more grip through corners and confidence for the drivers. So, yeah, let's just pray that there are no races this season where it's heavy rain. Intermediate rain we could probably deal with, but heavy rain, yeah, we don't want to be thinking about that. But we put together about 4 or 5 laps there in qualifying 3. That was all we were fueled up for. Our final lap that we did there wasn't optimal for wet weather conditions. It might have been worth chucking on inters for the final 2 minutes, but I really didn't foresee that happening. I thought it was going to stay fully wet for the whole session, and we kind of got caught out a little bit. 7th place. We just about edged out Daniel Ricciardo by 2 tenths there. First time I've actually name dropped him so far in this career mode. He just made no appearance in the last episode. His pace was nowhere. But yes, Daniel Ricciardo is my teammate. I never chose Ricciardo as my teammate, so I'm sorry to... I have a lot of Dutch fans who were very unhappy in the previous episode that Max Verstappen is not in the series. I'm sorry, but that wasn't my choice. I promise. But okay, that's qualifying. Little bit interesting to see the lack of pace there, but it will be dry for the race, so we should be able to calm our way through a little bit easier. So we'll see how we go. Need to get to the front and close in on Fernando Alonso.
Watch out at the race start. There will be faster cars trying to get past. See if you can hold them off.
Faster cars? Are you sure, Jeff? Oh, actually, we are starting P6, and I've just remembered now that Stoffel Van Dorn has a 10-second... Oh, not a 10-second, a 10-place grid penalty for the start of this Chinese Grand Prix. So, in actual fact, Jeff was right, and we will have to watch him as this Grand Prix progresses. But starting P6, yeah, we picked up 1 place, yeah, due to Stoffel dropping back in the order. So it's going to be an interesting race today. We're definitely going to be in the fight with Mercedes and Ferrari today. Back in Melbourne, that definitely wasn't the case. But now we have an extra 2 teams thrown into the mix, and well, we need to do our best, not trip over each other, and let Fernando Alonso run away with this race. 5 red lights to the Chinese Grand Prix, and we're underway. Finally. I don't like it how Charlie holds the lights for way too long, but away we go. Hamilton looking very racy on Vettel and Bottas. 3 wide for the 3 of them, and that is Checo. Sergio Perez giving us a nice little shunt there through turn 1. We've dropped 4, maybe 5 places down to P10.
Okay, Checo, are you okay? Are you okay?
Yes, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Not the start we were looking for, but it's not over yet. Stay focused.
Thanks, Jeff, for the encouragement. But yeah, not the start we were looking for. We're going to hopefully rectify that straight away as we go up the inside of Grosjean and almost my teammate there, Daniel Ricciardo, into turn number 4. Couldn't quite get our teammate though, so we'll have to work on him, possibly down at the back straight if we can get close to him. Actually, we might get the move done before that though, as we go up the inside through the left hand. Bit of contact. Come on, Ben, you got to tidy that up. Stoffel Van Dorn is already behind me. I repeat, Stoffel Van Dorn is already behind me after starting, what, P12, 13, maybe even 14? I don't... No, he's got... It would have been P12, wasn't it? But anyway, it is P8, and yeah, thankfully, a car between myself and Stoffel, that McLaren is going to be really dangerous, and I'm going to hopefully counteract him getting close to me by putting more cars between the 2 of us. I know he won't be as agile when it comes to overtaking than what I am. As I say that, he actually gets up the inside of Daniel. Lovely. So, it's 1 step forward, 1 step back for the both of us. But, well, in terms of, like, him getting close to me, I'm doing my absolute best to pull away. But he is so confident in the corners. I mean, that McLaren is decent. It's I would say, in the hands of Stoffel and Fernando, pretty, I don't know, adequate. Like, it's just like a 6 out of 10 in terms of straight line speed, but the amount of downforce that they have and confidence under brakes going into corners, it just makes all the difference. If they're side by side with someone, they're every day of the week going to overtake someone into a braking zone. But we get the move done on Sergio, finally. That was a happy moment to get back in front of him finally after the incident on the first lap. Yeah, so pretty annoying, but no love lost there. I think none of us really have damage, so we can pretty much carry on with our race, albeit my ego a little bit bruised after, yeah, losing a lot of productivity at the start of this Grand Prix. We could have possibly been challenging inside the podium positions. But Bottas goes defensive into the hairpin. He's a wake up to it. I try to go around the outside. They're a little bit too ambitious, and yeah, that move was not going to stick. We went in way too deep. Maybe if I braked about 10 meters, 15 meters a little bit like earlier, maybe that would have worked out. But yeah, just overstep the boundaries a little bit there, and we'll know for next time where the limits are. But anyway, this is Sergio Perez having a fairly decent lap, and now is fairly close to me, definitely within range once again. So we'll need to be watchful of that Force India, very strong in a straight line, and the McLaren Honda in our hands, it was pretty much on par. So now that we're in a Red Bull with a Renault-powered engine, that Force India is going to be pretty darn threatening towards us in a straight line. But here goes Stoffel Van Dorn round the outside of Sergio into the hairpin, just like Fernando did to me back in Australia. A move that goes round the outside. It'll turn to the inside for the next left-hander. Doesn't matter. Sergio pits, and that is the end of that battle. So it is pretty much pit stop time for the AI. It looks like they're doing a 2-stop, especially now that Fernando is onto the supers. And he'll be pretty darn pacey in this middle stint of the Grand Prix. Looks like he's only just rejoined behind me as well, with Stoffel joining me for company. So this will be a very interesting exchange, shall we say. I really hope that Stoffel is going to be on the... Well, actually, in theory, I really hope he's not on the 1-stop. But part of me is kind of wishing he is, so that we can have a bit of a ding-dong battle and see what their tyre wear is like as a gauge for the rest of the season. Into the braking zone, a little bit deep. Tyres are well past their best at this stage, and braking performance isn't that great. It's very easy to lock up, but heading into the final corner, we get a massive shunt from Stoffel Van Dorn as he actually pulls into the pits, and he had no idea that we were going to carry on, and it's left us just carrying back on through in the infield. So there's the incident there. Stoffel has actually lost a major part of his front wing, but Yeah, I mean, if this was a play, if this was online, I would have been furious. But this is just the way that the coding is for the AI. They don't have any like spatial awareness, or they don't have any consideration for people in front of them when they're diving into the pits. They're just following their coding. So like, I'm pissed off, but I understand why he ran into the back of me there. But at the same time, that is pretty, you know, inexcusable for what happened. I'm, you know, pretty annoyed at what happened. So yeah, we'll see what we can make of this race. It doesn't give us our position back. It doesn't, you know, make it any easier for us heading forward for the rest of this race. It is almost guaranteed the win for Fernando Alonso if that wasn't already sorted. But as we rejoin on the track, it's really close between myself and Romain Grosjean there. I was just rejoining the track, and Grosjean was trying to assume the racing line, as it were, through turn 1, and yeah, there was a little bit of contact made, but we managed to get through there fairly cleanly in the end there. But next up we have Jolyon Palmer. He hasn't stopped. Grosjean hasn't needs to make another stop as well, so we're battling with cars who are quite a long way down the order, and hopefully we can make some pretty quick work of those guys. So for the rest of this race, we've got a lot of work to do to get back to where we were. We lost 10 seconds with that exchange with Stoffel Van Dorn, so I would assume that we need to re-overtake the Ferraris, we need to re-overtake the well, we do need to overtake probably Ricciardo. We need to overtake the Mercedes cars as well, so could be an interesting 17 laps for the rest of this race. We were on the one stop and we were going to rejoin in front of them, but the people around us, like the Mercedes and the Ferraris, they're going to be a lot closer to us now because we lost 10 seconds. So the final, I don't know what, 10 laps of this race is definitely going to be much more interesting than what it was before, because I felt like we probably would have easily finished, you know, second or third, but now we're definitely going to have to work for it today. Esteban Ocon is out of the Grand Prix, some kind of reliability failure. Still, we're seeing a lot of failures for very early on in the season. 4 seasons in, you'd think the AI would have perfected their reliability.
Van Dorn is ahead of you. Okay, gap ahead is 17.0 seconds. We're 2.5 seconds slower. They're on old super softs. We think they've got one more stop.
Okay, so 17 seconds to Stoffel, and we're losing 2.5 seconds a lap. Pretty alarming, but at the same time, they are on a compound that is 2 compounds softer than what we're running, so not really that much of a surprise, especially even if they are at the end of their stint. But here he goes onto the soft compound tyres, and these will take him to the end of the Grand Prix. This is us in live action overtaking him, and I think he'll rejoin about 5 seconds behind us. So with a faster compound, a faster car, and squabbling that we're engaging with Lewis, this is definitely going to invite Stoffel Van Dorn into the fray for second place in this Chinese Grand Prix. In terms of Fernando Alonso, though, he's like literally 30 seconds up the road. So yeah, first place is completely out of the question unless Fernando has some kind of retirement, but otherwise it is all bets on, or bets off. Is it all bets off? I think it is all bets off for second place to see who is going to get this. It could be myself, it could be Hamilton, or it could even be Stoffel Van Dorn, or maybe even someone even further back. We don't know yet, so we'll have to wait and see. But Hamilton gets a really nice run through the Snell section. You can see through there just how much more pace he has on the faster compound. We've been consistent, but we've just been slow. The medium tyres, I talk about this a lot, but when you run with the harder compound, yes, it's technically faster for a race time, but when it comes to racing people on a faster compound, you just feel like crap, to be honest. The car offers nothing in terms of grip, so we're just trying to hold on with as much as we can up the inside into the final corner with Lewis Hamilton. It's really tight between the two of us. Our better straight line speed will get us through here and make sure we hold on to P2. The only reason why we're so competitive in holding on to P2 is the fact that we're running with, you know, really low downforce, 4 wings, which is what I ran in the esports race qualifiers. But I'm not too sure if it's the best strategy to go with. Van Dorn is out of the Grand Prix. He's got an engine failure.
Our gap to first place is 51.1 seconds.
I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to stick a team radio just after a retirement, but yes, Stoffel Van Dorn, one of our championship rivals, is out of this Grand Prix, and he was surely, I think, you know, pretty much guaranteed that he was going to get us at some point, and Yeah, there we go. That definitely eases the pressure. We now only have Lewis Hamilton. Now Kimi Räikkönen somehow getting into second place, and Valtteri Bottas is now in the mix as well. So 5 laps to go. This becomes a lot easier for us. There's a yellow flag on the back straight as well. But yeah, the straight line speed that we're running with, or the low downforce setup that we're running with, that was close. That was really close between ourselves and a slow-moving Haas. I think it was Grosjean. I was trying to get some slipstream there, but that was taking the piss, how close I got. Very unnecessary. The 4-4 wings are really keeping me in the game here. It is kind of the reason why we are very slow. We're not really offering much in the corners either. I don't know why I felt the need to run with this setup. We are lacking a little bit in downforce compared to the McLaren, for example, but compared to like Mercedes and Ferrari, I feel like we're on a very similar level. So I don't know why we're losing so much in the corners to them, but it's something we'll need to definitely consider going forward. But anyway, you can see this is Hamilton and Räikkönen going side by side. I'm going to be really embarrassed if that's Sebastian Vettel. I completely ruled Vettel out. Yes, it is Räikkönen. Thank goodness for that. Didn't want to make another crofty of it. But first corner cutting warning of the race. We have 3 of those to utilise, so let's not get any more as we venture on to the end of lap 25. That's our second warning of the race. Can we please not get any more now? I'm putting the commentator's curse on myself here. But Hamilton goes to the inside as we head on to the penultimate lap of this Chinese Grand Prix. There's a bit of contact between himself and Räikkönen, and Hamilton has a half spin between turns 1 and 2. This is really odd. He actually comes over into Räikkönen's line and completely screws over Bottas because he has to brake and slow down and make sure he doesn't run into the side of his teammate. That would not be great for a Mercedes constructor's standpoint. But yeah, that was a really weird incident there. Not too often you see the AI crash with each other like that, but there you go. Alonso sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Absolutely running away with this. Like the engineer said, I think it was like 50 seconds to Fernando. If there was like another 10 laps maybe, 15 laps, I think we might have been lapped. We have really allowed Fernando Alonso to get away in this race. He wins the Grand Prix. Huge surprise. I think there are a lot of factors that contributed to Alonso winning, and by the margin than what he did. A lot of us had a very interrupted race. For example, like what happened with Stoffel and battling a lot of cars that we didn't need to. The gap would have been a lot closer. But anyway, let's make sure we finish in P2. It doesn't matter how far behind we finish in P2, as long as we get the 18 points. I think that's all that really matters. As here goes Bottas up the inside of Räikkönen. Hamilton couldn't get it. Maybe the other Finn can get the job done up the inside into the hairpin. He squeezes him out very nicely. All the soft compound runners really coming into the fray here in the dying laps, and there he goes into 3rd place. Gets himself up on the podium. Kimi probably won't care. He's off for an ice cream after the Grand Prix, but 18 points for us.
Brilliant job, mate. That's a fantastic podium. Super driving, really strong pace. Very, very happy.
Well, I'm thoroughly exhausted after the excitement of that race, but I'm sure it's nothing compared to our drivers here. They've worked hard to make it up there, and it's great to see them make their way out onto the podium.
So Fernando wins in a very dominant fashion. There were very ominous signs at the end of the Australian Grand Prix. The fact that he won, despite having a drive-through penalty. He has a clear race today, and he wins by the best part of a minute. So we have well and truly created a monster when it comes to the McLaren Honda now. I should officially call it the McLaren Renault, because that's probably a more accurate description of what it is. But second place for us. Valtteri Bottas joins us on the podium as well, so great drive from him to weather the storm and navigate his fellow countrymen and Kimi Räikkönen and dodging Lewis Hamilton towards the end there. Hamilton actually finishes in 7th place, so a very costly little incident there. He slots in behind Ricciardo, who gets his first point of the season. So again, teammates, pretty disappointing. I don't know if it's Ricciardo was actually doing quite well before I jumped in this team, but now that I've jumped in, he hasn't really shown too much in terms of pace. So maybe it's a Ben Daly teammate kind of curse that is going on at the moment. But 18 points, I mean, the gap is really, really ominous. We're going to have to do some upgrades. We will do so at the end of this episode, but unfortunately it won't be performance-wise. It'll only be for a discount, which will make things easier for us later on in the season. Driver standings, we still sit second, 36 points, 14 points behind Fernando Alonso. Hopefully, I say hopefully, we can beat him in the next race. We'll have to wait and see. It is Bahrain, so a track that may not come into it as much, a track that may not suit the McLaren as much as some other tracks on the calendar. So yeah, we'll see. There's definitely not a huge importance on downforce and aerodynamic performance. So we'll see how we go, but when we get to Spain, just forget about it. That race is Fernando Alonso's already. It's a high downforce circuit and Fernando's home race, so there is a lot of motivation for Fernando to win by a lap, probably, at that Grand Prix. But guys, that has been this episode for today. The Chinese Grand Prix. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See plenty more F1 2017 content. We're going to do the discount upgrade for the Aero. 1,000 points down the drain, but it makes everything else 10% cheaper. So if we do, I don't know, 6 upgrades, 7 upgrades, and a few of those being like major ones, then we'll get some pretty big discounts there, and we'll hopefully break even. But I'm thinking about maybe doing another, efficiency upgrade, but we'll have to wait and see. This whole Red Bull thing is probably going to be a short-term thing. It may only be one season, so we need to kind of balance what we want to spend this season. We don't want to delve too deep into the efficiency upgrades because we may not break even until like after a season's worth of development, and it makes no sense to do that if we're only going to stay on for one season. Hopefully that makes sense. But guys, thank you so much for watching. We're off to Bahrain next, where, like I said, hopefully McLaren isn't so strong and we can claw some points back in the standings. Thank you so much for watching. Until then, I'll see you next time.